All right, lovies. Now we're on to our second lesson of Unit 3. So, text structure and purpose. So, in these videos, we're specifically looking at, for the passages, um, the whole thing that we're reading, but we're looking at why was the passage written. So in previous things, we looked at why was a certain sentence included. Now we're looking at the entire passage and trying to gain meaning. So we're going to ask ourselves questions like, what's the author's purpose? Are there overlap between the answers? Because maybe there probably wouldn't be a correct one. We want to make sure that we look at flow and the big picture of the entire passage. We also want to see if there's any relationships, if there's multiple paragraphs, not really going to be a lot for the foundations level. And then look for also words like however, contrast, and therefore. And that's going to come up also later on in another set of lessons. I think it's boundaries. So we'll see you soon. We got this. All right, let's take a look at our first question. Always let's check out the prompt first. It is, what's the primary purpose? When the first printing press arrived in the American colonies, it was met with mixed reactions. Some leaders celebrated the promise of widespread literacy, while, contrarily, others feared the loss of control over public opinion. Despite these disagreements, presses quickly multiplied, producing sermons, pamphlets, and eventually newspapers. Their influence grew so strong by the time of the Revolution, they were considered essential to the exchange of ideas. So we're talking about the printing press has come, some are in favor of it, some are against it. Then it talks about how it's widely used. So what's the primary purpose of the passage? To explain how early printing presses were operated. Well, it doesn't say first you put on the text and then you put on the paper and then the ink. I mean, this could be a maybe, but more we learned about like why they were used, not like the method of use. So that's like a maybe-ish. To describe the conflicted reception of the printing colonies, of printing in the colonies. That's probably true because, like, here we like it, here we don't like it, here we were doing sermons and stuff on it. So that seems pretty okay. Argue that newspapers caused political unrest. Well, a newspaper can't cause political unrest, but this isn't about the newspapers. This is about the printing press. So C is a definite no. Present a biography of a colonial printer. That's not about a person at all. So even though A is like a maybe, B is the best example because it talks about this is why we liked it, this is why we didn't, this is why we liked it, and we used it anyway. Kind of like social media today. So B is the correct answer. Looking at number 2, here we're looking at the main purpose of the passage again. In his travel diary, Lewis noted awe. So we know we're talking about someone who travels. Awe, like, whoa, awesome. The vast herds of bisons crossing the plains. He compared the thunder of their hooves to the distant cannon fire and marveled at their numerous numbers stretching beyond sight. Yet his observations, yet is one of those, yet. His observations also carried a warning. As settlements expanded, he foresaw that the herds would dwindle. His prediction, once cautionary, soon proved tragically accurate. So, does this emphasize that he condemns the hunters? Well, it doesn't mention hunting. It's just saying all these people are coming and settling. So it doesn't directly say hunting. So even though that might be true, it's not the main purpose. To both portray the grandeur, the awe of the vast herds, and the fragility because of people coming in. And that makes sense because in the passage, there's positives and negatives. So our answer also has to have positives and negatives. So the grandeur positive and the fragility negative. So B is our best answer, but let's look at other ones. To argue the strict government protections. Well, he might want strict government protections, but that's not the purpose of the passage, and government's not mentioned in it. It's not like you should do this. To describe a single one hunting expedition. Yeah, that's definitely not what happened. So B is our best answer. Let's look at our last question in this video, number 3. Here again, the passage primarily serves two. Now let me just say this. I read with tone. It might be better for you, even though you're in a high stakes test, if you practice these questions coming up when you're doing them by yourself, also trying to read with tone and passion. Usually that can help you with the inflection and understanding meaning of words. Because if you can know awe is like, woohoo, awe, you know that sentence is probably going to be uplifting. If you see a word that's depressing, you know the surrounding words are also kind of probably depressing. So even practicing when you're reading in your head or whispering to yourself, the tones that will make a difference. All right, moving on. During the Great Expedition of 1851, visitors streamed into London's Crystal Palace. Streamed means there's probably a whole lot to view inventions around or across the globe. Machines were powered by steam, astonished crowds, while displays of textiles and fine goods demonstrated industrial progress. For many, not all, good thing they didn't say all, for many, the exhibition embodied confidence in human ingenuity and a belief in the limitlessness of advancement. Yet, opposite. Critics cautioned that such faith in progress overlooked the social costs of rapid change. And hello, that's what we're dealing with right now with AI. 170 years later, that's what we're thinking. We're really excited about what it can do, but we're cautious about what does this mean. So that's the same thing that was going on with the machines powered by steams 170 years ago. All right, but let's read it. And how I make connections in my brain is what you should be doing when you're reading the questions. See if you notice similarities. In this passage, there is positives and negatives. So hopefully our answer is going to show positive and negatives as well. To celebrate the lasting benefits of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, that's a lot of things going on, but that's only a positive thing. And this passage talked about the positives and the negatives and consequences. To highlight the word both, woohoo, we like that word in this. Enthusiasm positive, skepticism negative. Right away, B's our correct answer. But let's keep going. To explain how the Crystal Palace was designed, that's a obvious no. And to criticize Britain for exploiting foreign nations, also obvious no. So B is the best answer because it has both something positive and something negative. See you soon.